Hi, this is Rock, and I hope you're on a roll with these functions that we've been moving forward with. So take, you're going to see, is a lot like drop, but it does the opposite. Instead of leaving out those particular identified rows or columns from the array, you're going to be just showing those ones that you want. So let's do the same thing with take. We'll start with a sequence. This time it'll be easier on ourselves and we'll just make it 6 rows by 20. All right, that's more manageable. And now if I have my columns counter over here and I say equals columns and I choose this, it's got 20 columns. And the rows, I'll say equals rows. And it's got 6 rows. Okay, so that's all predictable, right? So let's see how take works. Equals take, and you see that it requires 2 arguments, array and rows. Columns, how many columns you want, is optional. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this array, and the number of rows needs to be at least 1. Let's go ahead and take all 6 rows, but I want to have just the last 2 columns. So remember, if it's on the right, you need to have a negative number. So -2, and that gives me the last 2 columns. If I wanted instead the first 2 columns, oh, and I can just copy this down to follow our pattern there. I'll paste it here, and let's do the first 2 columns by changing this -2 to a +2. I hit enter, and that's the first 2 columns. I could change this to grab the first 7 columns. You see how this is doing it? All right, now let's look at rows. So if I copy this, put this down here, let's use this take formula, and we'll take all the columns, which that's 20, and then we're gonna only take, let's say, the first 2 rows. So you see how that worked? It just took the first 2 rows of that array. Let's do the same thing down here, but take the last 2 rows of the array, in which case we just need to change that to, well, let's take the last 3, just to be different. We'll change this 2 to a -3, and you see how that goes 61 through 120. That's grabbing the last 3 rows. So hopefully this is pretty intuitive now. You see how the take function works, and when you get out there in the wild with your data, you'll see how this can come in very handy. Next, we're going to look at filter. See you then.